Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our Discover What's Possible webinar, Filing Tax Forms Online. This is the last of our Discover webinars for this year, so be sure to check out our Discover 2025 page where you can see a link to all of our recorded webinars from this year. And these webinars serve as a great resource to learn about more features you can utilize for your CDM Plus. Also, be on the lookout for the Discover 2026 series that we will post after January. For today's webinar, we have special guests Nisa and Ryan from Aatrix who are going to walk you through how to file your tax forms online. And we're very, very excited for this team to join us here today, and we know that this is going to be a great training opportunity. Also with us today, we have several members of the Saran team, including Alex Clay, our CEO, Sherry Snedden, our support manager, Jennifer Nelson, our support engineer, Chris Widener, our marketing specialist, and myself, Julian Manning, our product specialist. We are here to answer any questions that you may have throughout today's presentation. Before we get going, we just wanted to bring your attention to several resources and announcements. One, as you are on your January journey, make sure to check out our January Survival Guide in our Help Center. This guide features checklists, articles, and videos to help you navigate the January season with ease. Also, please note that our office will be closed December 24th and 25th, as well as January 1st, just to let our staff celebrate this holiday season. And last but not least, as you are planning that 2026 calendar, don't forget to save the date for our annual users conference on September 22nd through 24th. Our conference this year will take place in the beautiful city of Charleston, West Virginia. And this is not only a great time to connect with other users, but it's a great way to get in-depth training as well for you and your team. All right, so without further ado, we're really excited to have Nisa and Ryan with us here today. Nisa and Ryan, I will pass it over to you.
Appreciate that very much. So my name is Ryan Hagen. I'm with Aatrix, and I'll be running through the first few slides, and then I'll hand it off to Nisa Rajput, our partner account executive. Nisa is going to be doing the majority of the legwork. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. We'll talk a little bit about the Aatrix solution. We know that this is going to be a refresher for probably the majority of the people in attendance, so we won't spend a lot of time on some of these things. We want to make sure that we cover the basics for you, that what the filing process is from Saran, also price. Everybody wants to know what costs are going to be. And then again, for those that haven't used Aatrix in the past, how do I get started? So, a little bit about Aatrix. We've been doing tax filing for many years, probably over 25 years at this point. So this is our specialty. This is our business. Folks are filing their payroll taxes. They're trusting us with their personal information. So it's something that we take very seriously, and very happy that CDM and Saran is using us as a trusted partner for tax filing. As far as the process, some of this stuff we won't touch a lot on, but the concept of one at Aatrix is a big deal for us, and that we want to make this process as easy for you as possible. So whatever form you're filing with us, we're talking about W-2s and 1099s, maybe ACAs at this time of the year. But of course, Aatrix does more than that as well. So no matter what form you're filing with us, it's all done with the same process. So we try to make that extremely easy to work with. We want to make sure that there's as little chance as possible of any issues or errors when you're filing with Aatrix. Also, one website. So when you're enrolling with us, Nisa will cover this later. After you've enrolled with Aatrix, you'll be able to go to that site or go within your eFile account and view filing statuses and history, all that information about the filing that's been made. We've already touched on the why use Aatrix, or the process, I should say. A couple other things I'll add here is the error checking that we do within our processes. At this point, we have over 1,800 error checks that we offer within our products. So we allow you to do double checking and triple checking, basically, of the information that's part of our process. But we are also doing error checking in the background. So, an extensive error checking. So we just absolutely want to make sure that there's as little chance of rejection or any sort of error as possible. Just a bit on security. We're a SOC 2 Type 2 organization. And so spend a great deal of time and have, of course, a staff that's entirely dedicated to making sure our security processes are completely up to speed. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Nisa at this point. Nisa, go ahead.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Nisa with Aatrix, and today I'm going to share a little bit more in detail about our pricing, our service structure, and then, of course, how do we get started with Aatrix, the enrollment process, and then we will be going over a W-2 similar with the 1099 process and show you how that's actually done from start to finish. So when we look at our pricing here, through Saran, we know that our complete service has become so popular and highly recommended. And the reason for that is because we highly suggest that let Aatrix handle all the work for you. So what does that complete service entail? So Aatrix will do all the printing and mailing for you. So we will print the copies, we'll stuff the envelopes, and we'll send that off for you through the mail. We also give you employee or recipient hosted copies online. So these will be all your 1099 and W-2 employee copies that will be in a PDF format within your Aatrix administration, which I will show you how to access later. And then, of course, we do file all the forms to the IRS for the 1099s, the SSA, for the W-2s. And then, of course, we also file for all 50 states. If you are filing for a state for a 1099 that does not require it, not a problem. We just don't send the copy of that to the state that doesn't require it. But otherwise, we do file for all 50 states. So for $2.32 per employee or per recipient, ultimately is a no-brainer. We just also want to add that with our complete service comes a lot of compliance, a lot of peace of mind, and that security, knowing that your information is kept secure throughout the process from start to finish. With that, if you do need any sort of correction filings from the original filing, we do have that available, and our minimum charge is $18.99. Otherwise, any basic filing starts at a minimum cost of $29.99 for all W-2s and 1099s. Of course, we also have the other services there, but like I mentioned, we're really focusing on the complete service so we can help you guys make your filing year a lot faster, quicker, and less stressful. With that, we also provide some payroll reports. We do offer the quarterlies, the 940s, the 941s, unemployment, withholding, new hire forms, as well as associate payments. And we're consistently adding forms to this list. So definitely check us out and see what we can offer you guys in terms of an e-filing option for these federal and state forms. We do also have eFile packages. This may not apply to everyone, but if you are a company that is filing for multiple states, maybe multiple forms within your company, and you run payroll maybe bi-weekly or monthly, that tends to add up. So we do have some nice eFile packages grouped together for a yearly subscription. And for more information, if that's something that you're looking for, do please give us a call at sales, and we'll be able to kind of explain how these packages work. With that, you're probably wondering, so how does this actually work? Through your Saran system, you would essentially be accessing the Aatrix forms right through your reports tab, and then your payroll reports, and then you select the payroll tax forms. From that, you will get a list like you see on the right-hand side image here, where you can select, if it's a state filing, you select the state, and then of course we have all the state forms listed there. And if it's a federal filing, then of course you'll see all the W-2s, 1099s, 941s, all that kind of good stuff. If you're not sure about, what form it is that you are meant to file, or you're not sure what that form is once you've selected it, we do have a nice little description box, as you can see here, that will actually tell you what the form is. And so that will help you in selecting the right form for your filing. With the 1099, so a little bit of a different route here, but you would still go through your Saran system. You would select the reports, payables report, and then the 1099 tax forms. So these are specific. Again, we offer the miscellaneous and the NEC form. So you would have the option of choosing one of these forms in filing your 1099s. And then, of course, we also highly recommend that you make sure you're selecting the right date or the period of the form that you're filing before, starting that process. And with that, once you've selected your form, I highly recommend, if you are new to using Aatrix, we might have some customers here that are new, enroll with Aatrix. What that is basically creating an account. It's simple, it's free, it'll just take maybe a minute or two, where you just have to create a username and a password. That username is, I always ask my customers to keep that pretty generic, because once you create that username, you can't change it. So stay away from any personal names or any sensitive information, in case you might have to share this user login and password with maybe another member of your team. So highly recommend you do this, because this connects the file from Saran to Aatrix, and it will ask you, or it'll prompt you within the process of filing your W-2s and 1099s for this username and password. So instead of breaking up that flow, it's nice to kind of have this done prior to. And if you didn't have a chance, not a problem. You could still do it at the time as well. We do also have linked the partner page. So if you have any questions, pricing, or just want to go and enroll, we do have that landing page as well for you to start that process. With that, I'm going to jump into the demo. And today we are going to show you the W-2, 1099. So the W-2 and 1099 are exactly the same in terms of the process, where you would just select your W-2s from your payroll, and then B, your 1099s from your AP. But ultimately, once you select that form, like we showed you in the previous descriptions, the process is exactly the same. So here we got the W-2. And what's nice about being a first-time filer, and if you've never used Aatrix before, we do have a test drive. So if you have maybe 25 of your employees or recipients, or if you want to use all of your data, you can do so and test out the product. Highly recommend that, because it just kind of gives you a little bit of peace of mind that you've gone through the process. You don't actually submit anything, but it's just so you can get the feel of what the product is like. And if you encounter, of course, any issues, then you want to definitely take it back to your CDM support, and they can also help you mitigate any of those issues. But with that, I'm going to say nope. I'm going to start the process so we can show you how easy it is to file using Saran and Aatrix together. So once your 1099 or W-2 form has been selected, the first thing it'll ask you is to verify your company FEIN. For the 1099s, it'll definitely ask for either the TIN number or the Social Security. So irrespective, you do want to make sure that this number is correct and that you are filing for the right EIN or the right recipient. Granted, you have many more under your account. So once that is validated, you want to go ahead and say next. With that, we have the ability to allow you to essentially merge data files. So there might be some companies that have maybe their C-suite payroll information in a different database, or maybe they have their recipients, part of different departments on a different database. Again, whatever it may be, you are able to merge these files. And if you do, you would say, yes, I have multiple databases for this company. And of course, the next step does show you on how to get those files merged. And then, of course, that would be presented right on the form as we go forward. I don't have any, so I'm just going to go ahead and say next. As you can see, a lot of this information is going to come from your Saran software. So a lot of this information is already going to be filled out. you're just essentially, like Ryan mentioned, double or triple checking at this point, making sure this information matches what you have. So if you do see any sorts of typos or any information that's incorrect, you can go ahead at this point and, of course, make those edits on the fly. But I do highly recommend you go back into your Saran and then, of course, update that information there as well. Since at this point, after selecting the form, we are not synchronizing. We're just taking the information from the software of Saran and pushing it over to Aatrix. With that, it's going to ask you what tax preparer type you are. So if you are a CPA firm who's filing for maybe multiple EINs, you would select yourself as a third-party preparer. But if you're filing for your own company, your own companies, you would just be selecting yourself as filing for my own company. State tax and items. So whether it be the W-2 or the 1099, there might be some local state tax items. And so it does show me here that I do have some withholding for the state of Idaho. And what our error checkings does is that we check for the formatting of these important account numbers as well. So with that, we cannot check if the actual account number, like the digits, are correct. So if this was supposed to be a 5 instead of a 4, you would want to make sure that you are validating that number is correct, because we wouldn't have a way to check for that. But we can check, is it in the correct format the state requires these account numbers to be in. So if you do find that there's an error, you can go into it, you can edit. We do offer the formatting options as well, so you can make those changes on the fly. If there's a state that's maybe missing, you can go ahead and add that to the list as well. So just some couple of options there. Of course, if you have any special tax or local items, that would appear here. I don't seem to have any in my test file, so we're going to move ahead. Now, when it comes to data verification, this is specifically for the W-2. The 1099 will just be a couple of questions a little different, but it's just asking if the employees are exempt from Medicare or Social Security, if they're part of the clergy, do they need to use control numbers? Of course, choose this information as it applies to your file. But the fourth one is, do any employee who elected to receive a W-2 form electronically. This also applies for the 1099s. There might be some employees or some recipients who just prefer to get the electronic copy versus the mailed paper copy. If that is the case, and you do have those people requesting that, it is advised to get some consent from the employee or from the recipient, saying that they would waive the mailed option and they would accept the electronic version of their copy. And if that is the case, you would say yes. And within the preparer, we get to actually select those who have opted in, who have given consent to then wanting to receive the electronic copy versus the mailed copy. So I'll just say yes so I could show you what that looks like for the W-2s and 1099s within the preparer. All right. So with that, just some W-3 information. It's just asking what kind of payer, which all apply. Again, this is all going to associate with what you need on the form. And so if it hasn't transferred over, you can select this information that does apply. All right. Now for the employee social security number, this is just asking if you'd like to truncate this information. We have 3 options, whether it has no truncation or one with asterisks or one with X's. Select the one that works for you. And throughout the process, you will still see that the social will be fully numbered unless you did not choose one. But once it's printed and mailed, it will be then, of course, in that format that you have selected. So once that information is pretty much set up, as you can see, it was just next stepping in the process. All that information, again, is coming from Saran. So if there was something off or out of date. It was just because that information hadn't been updated within your Saran. So definitely check that prior to starting the process, or take the test drive so you could see what information matches to what actually is available to eFile. With that, our preparer is ready here. And for most of this, like, it will not take this much time, as this is a demo product. So bear with me. All right, perfect. So it looks like we have our information presented. Again, this will also apply with the 1099. It'll look exactly the same as we went through the wizard. And on the left-hand side, we will have either the W-2 employee or 1099 recipient information. And so you'll see as I scroll right through, there would just be that information that pertains specifically to that form that you select. And then, of course, on the right-hand side, you'll either see the wage information or the expense information. So over here would essentially be the last opportunity for you to make those changes on the fly. And of course, we will be going through the error checkings, making sure that the employee or recipient information is correct, the state forms are correct, the federal forms information that's going to go on the Fed forms are correct. So we will be doing all these checking through the check as we move next in the process. If there's something that is not, again, up to standard of what the information should be, or if you're not too sure if there was an error that popped up and you're not too sure why, we do have some helpful tips here, or did you know, an FAQs that you could read more on to help you go through this process if anything were to come up. And as you notice, this very much acts like a spreadsheet. So again, if there was any recipient or even W-2 information left off, you are able to right click, you can insert rows, you can add information. So do as you will, of course. Make sure that the information is correct, because again, after this process, we do then just have you viewing the information without the options to edit. And I wanted to go into a little detail with the electronic only W-2 or the electronic only 1099. So as you can see, we do have that box available here. And so for those employees or recipients that have opted in to receiving the electronic copy versus the mail copy, you would essentially just need to have the email addresses here, because I didn't have that in the software. It hasn't transferred over, but ultimately you will be able to put the email addresses here, make sure they're correct, and then select those employees and those recipients at that time to receive that copy. So we'll just go ahead and say next step. And as you can see on the left top here, it'll tell you exactly what we are error checking for. If your information is all good to go and you've double checked this prior to and within the product, at this step, you're just next stepping in case anything pops up. We do have soft errors, and of course, we also have some hard errors where it will not let you go through. So for example, if any of our wage withholding or wages or expenses were maybe off by a couple of cents, fractions of cents, the product will let you know through the error checking that, hey, you do have some expenses that are maybe off by a couple of cents, just FYI, but we'll still let you go through. However, for example, if we have a TIN number or a social security number starting with the number 9, that's something that's unacceptable. We will not let you move forward until that error has been validated or updated with the correct information. So that's the nice thing about filing, with the Aatrix and Saran, is that we definitely will consistently be double checking through those error checks, making sure that your information flows through correctly and limits the fines and penalties or rejections at the end of the filing process. With that, it'll ask you now to select those services that we briefly discussed. So the default is always the complete service. And of course, unless you wanted the other options, you can go and select that for your W-2 or your 1099s. It'll just kind of give you the price. Of course, this is an old test drive, so excuse the pricing. But this is essentially what you would see. And then we also provide PDF archives for W-2s and 1099s. So for example, this archive, it is for an extra cost. It's a USB that is mailed to you, and it's of the whole filing, which of course you then access securely with your credentials. If you don't choose to take it now, that's not a problem. You can say no, thank you. But if you did choose it, the next step will just ask you to then verify your email address and your credentials, your address for mailing, and then we would send you a USB. But for example, if you maybe didn't want it now, but maybe 2 months down the line, you decided, hey, that USB or that archive would have been really helpful because maybe you guys are going through some audits, you can definitely give us a call at sales and request that, and we'll be able to put that in order and either send you a USB, or we can electronically drop the files in a secure database on your desktop. So we have a couple of options through that if you did select no at this time. With that, we are then going to see the number of states that we are filing for. So I only have the one state here, but if you are a firm that is filing for multiple states for your W-2s or 1099s, I highly recommend to not deselect any states. I have seen some customers, for some odd reason, deselecting the state and thinking that they would come back in the software and then, of course, file the state separately. That's not necessary if you are using the complete service because it's already bundled in the price and the service already. And most often than not, a lot of customers actually forget to come back and do that, which then causes them some fines and penalties because then, of course, they forgot to file that state. So highly recommend not to deselect any states at this time. Just go ahead and complete the filing. The review data is just basically telling us a synopsis of what we are now going to see on the form. So it'll give you the federal, the state, the employer W-2. We just don't show the employee copies in the forms viewer. So if you do want to do the print, you need to go into the history section and of course select that for reprint. So at this point, as you can see, it's been fairly quick, very intuitive. It's just next stepping in the process. Again, all this information is already in Saran, so it's just transferring over to us. And as you can see, the complete replicas are seamlessly integrated, and all this information has passed over brilliantly. Nothing seems to be left off. So all of that is great. And if you have multiple pages, you can definitely check on top on the left there. Of course, we will be going through that review data. So next stepping through the process, it'll let you know for your W-2s and of course the 1099s, what we are about to show you. So as you can see, this is the W-2 for the federal. And of course, you can print at this time, but I'm not going to. But if you did need any statement copies, this is where you would be putting in that request to print. All right, that's the federal W-3. And then I do have my state withholding as state W-2 as well. And I have one more to show you, which I have actually gone and deliberately put in an error so you could see what that would look like. So for example, within the Saran product, if there was any information maybe missing or hasn't been filled in or just didn't manage to pass over, this is just showing the Idaho withholding report that a lot of the information is missing or maybe didn't transfer over because it wasn't in your system. So with that, it'll show you some boxes where you do need to fill. Some are blue and some are red. And what those keys indicate is anything in blue means that it is editable. So you can make those changes on the fly and update that. But of course, you do have to go back into your Saran system and then, of course, update it there. Anything in red means that if it's not filled, the product will not let you move forward. This information is required. You need to make sure that everything is balanced. All the information is filled out. If there was multiple pages, you would select it there, but it seems like it was only this page that didn't have information pass through. So it looks like everything is now blued out. So I should be able to move forward. But that is just an example of what those error checkings do. That if it was left unfilled, it would not let you actually eFile until that was filled out. So now it's asking me to connect the file from essentially what we've just validated through the Aatrix eFile Center. And here and behold is the username and password that is required to then create that link between the file sending it over to us. So I'm going to go ahead and add my username and my password. And once I've done that, it will recognize my account. And then at the bottom, if I clicked on back, you would see efile.aatrix.com. So if you haven't enrolled with us, again, not a big deal. You can go ahead and enroll right at that point, and then of course come back and submit your credentials and move forward. With that, it's basically taking the information that we use to enroll. So it's again just validating that we are filing for this company. We have the taxpayer information, looks all good to me. And then of course, it's just going to let us know. You will not see this particular slide because this is just letting me know that I'm in test mode. So if you are in test mode, it will give you that option as well, like to say, hey, you're in test mode, you're not actually e-filing. And so now with the year coming for, W-2, 1099, and then of course, after that quarterly filing, we are offering a promotion on our e-file packages for 20% off. This applies to all new customers that haven't filed a W-2 complete. So you don't even have to be new, but if you haven't used our W-2 complete service, we are giving a 20% off our eFile packages. So if you would like to take advantage of that or need more information, please reach out to your support team and they can go over some of those options for you. With that, we'll see the pricing. And then if they are customers that are filing their 1095 forms, in addition to the W-2s and 1099s, we also have another promotion where you can save 50% off the 1095s. You might be wondering how that works. So at Aatrix, we are able to actually print the 1095 information onto the W-2 form, thereby cutting out the costs on a whole separate form set, printing, and then of course postage. So we are able to give our customers even more discounts. And how that works is you have to essentially e-file the W-2 complete service first, and then choose a mailing date, minimum of 3 days and more between the first W-2 filing and then your complete 1095 or ACA filing. As long as there is the same mailing date for both these complete W-2 and 1095 form, you will be then offered the 50% discount. So if you're not waiting till the federal deadline in February or March and would just like to crank it out and get it out the way, we do have the 50% off. Note, there is a specific time range for this. We don't have it running through the whole year-end season in January. There are specific dates. So just be sure to double check those. And if you are going to take advantage of it, we want to make sure you fall within those date ranges. With that, the W-2 submission dates. Now, this is a test drive, so it hasn't opened up yet with the new form. So I don't have any drop downs here. where I'll be able to select a filing date. But typically, if you don't select a filing date, or excuse me, mailing date, you will then Aatrix will just mail it out the next business day. So it is pretty fast in that time frame or in that process. But if you do select your dates, of course, you can make those selections. Now, Aatrix does have separate filing deadlines compared to the IRS. And so, again, we will go over those eFile deadlines. So if you are closer to the deadline, unfortunately, you don't get an option then, of course, to choose your mailing dates, because here at Aatrix, we are heavily responsible for making sure that these get out on time, so postmarked by the 31st. And of course, if anything comes, after our deadline, we can't guarantee, that it can get out on time. So I just highly recommend you take note of these dates, so that we can make sure there's no, issues down the line of having delayed mailings out. So of course, you can make your selections there. With that, this is also, again, just letting you know that the deadline, but this was for last year. I believe this year we are set at January 30th before 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if there are any changes, we do update you guys through your eFile account and notify you if we have extended those times. If, of course, we have a great filing year and everyone seems to get most of their filings done within the first 3 weeks, which is not always a guarantee, right? Because we know payroll is not the easiest, right? So with that, then of course you have your payment options, all the W-2s, all the 1099s, all the 1095s, you just pay at the time of filing with the credit card. You don't purchase any packages beforehand for the year-end forms. You just, at the time, select it and you're good to go. Now we have our confirmation. So this is just letting me know, A, that I'm in test drive. So this won't show up for you unless you're in the test run. And B, it's just saying that you are filing for this company. This is your filing period. Just double check everything. Now, the confirmation doesn't mean that we have accepted or even received your file. You do want to click on the submit button. I have had in the past some customers that said, hey, I got that confirmation, but we just didn't find your filing. And that's reason is because they didn't select the submit button. Once you hit the submit button, you do get 2 notifications that are sent to your account with Aatrix and also your email that notifies you that, hey, you have a unique code, which is called an AFID number that is associated with your filing. So that tells you that we have received your filing. You have this code, and if you need to reference this number for any questions that you may have, that is your indication that your file has been sent to us and you have a reference number. And then, of course, you also get an email address sent to your email address on whatever platform or domain you're using. And then, of course, a copy of it does also go into your Aatrix account. So again, nice thing about filing with Aatrix in the complete service is that you have all of these added benefits of these notifications and, hey, let's double check, this information is validated. So, it's just nice to use it if it's there. So with that, so this is exactly the CDM partner page I was talking to you about, where you can go to partner.aatrix.com or just go to our website and you'll, under the solutions, you'll select the CDM. So again, just a nice little burst of information here. And you can also log in or enroll with us. So creating your username and your password. So if you hit on enroll, it'll just ask you to fill out this information. But through that page, you can also log in, and that's what we are going to do. So because I already have my username and password, I'm going to log into that administration Ryan was talking a little bit about, and how this is so helpful for after the fact, even before, but more after the fact of filing with us. So as you can see here, the home tab is pretty basic. We have some quick links here. So for those of you who maybe need our W-9 form, you can go ahead and request that. If you need to make any changes to your passwords or security questions, go ahead and update that right there. The companies tab, this is some information that might apply to some of you. So most of the questions we get is, can we have more than one user per account? And unfortunately, no, because with that enrollment form, it's only one email, one name, and then of course, one contact. However, let's just say if AP wants to be separate, so 1099s need to be separate from W-2s. Ultimately, what you do is you can enroll the same EIN again, and then of course, have a different username and a password for that EIN. Now, there might be some of you who might be filing for multiple companies. So as you can see, that setup is done here, where I've enrolled the main preparer EIN, and then I've logged in, I've added new, and then of course I have my number of taxpayers underneath. Therefore, I'm just remembering one username and password for all the taxpayers that I'm maybe filing for my W-2 or 1099 forms. So a couple of ways that you can create your account. If you're not still too sure, definitely reach out to your CDM support and they'll be able to kind of explain this maybe a different way, and they can help you out figure that out as well. So for that, if I do select the company that we just filed for, there's a couple of things here, kind of like housekeeping rules that we want to do prior to filing, just so it makes it easier, before we start the process, if you are new to Aatrix. If you are sales tax exempt, please go ahead and email us your sales tax exemption certification right to this email. And if you are using Aatrix to eFile any 94X series forms, so that's including the the 940, the 941, the 943, just a number of 94X series forms, we do need an eFile authorization form. If you're just using Aatrix to do W-2s and 1099s, you do not need this eFile authorization form. Just skip it over. You don't need to send us anything there. And then, of course, from the enrollment, as you can see here, it's only that one person, that one user with their company and contact information. If you are making payments through EFTPS using our coupon, and of course, then filing your federal tax deposit forms, and you need to make payments to the agencies, you're able to also link your bank account information right here. And in the process, it'll ask you, how would you like to make those payments? If you select Aatrix to make that payment and you have your banking information in here, then of course you, the agency, whether it be state or federal, then are facilitated through ACH, and they will pull out those funds for you to make your payment on time. So again, another added benefit of using that eFile section, through Aatrix. If you're filing for multiple states, you'd want to go ahead and select your states. And what's nice about it is that we do have some information bubbles here. So maybe there might be some states that require some sort of PIN or password. So we have some information on instructions on how you can set that up. Again, another great thing about using Aatrix is you don't have to visit multiple state websites or the federal website to upload any information. It's all done right through Saran and Aatrix. It's just seamlessly a great flow, like you've just seen. We don't have to jump out and have a number of tabs open and fighting with slow processes. The inbox tab is pretty nice as well. So this is where you get all your confirmations and that AFID number I was telling you about. So after your filing, you should get a confirmation from us with that AFID number. Every AFID is going to be separate and unique for each filing. So if your accounting needs any receipts, if you're using a company credit card, you can provide them this email so that they know what their card has been used for as well. The filings tab is probably the most important, I would say, in administering your details in terms of your forms that you filed. So as you can see here, I've got a number of forms. So I'm just going to go and I'll just select the 1099 here that we might have filed. So mind you, this is a demo and a test, so you won't see actual information, but concept is there. So this will, if you've used the complete service, it'll actually tell you when the 1099 miscellaneous, the 1096 was submitted with Aatrix, when those mail copies to the recipients were mailed out, or if they're still pending, or when they might be going out. And then, of course, what state, if PA accepts 1099. So that will be all available in terms of the detail right there. Now, this is an important maybe piece to filing. Let's just say, for example, if there was some information that was left out of the 1099 data. Some recipients were left off for some reason, and you had realized this not too long after you have already submitted the file, and you have this AFID number, you have the filing information. If you come to your filing actions and this deleted filing icon is still highlighted, you're in luck. You are able to then go ahead and delete that filing. You won't be charged then for that, and then you can make your resubmission again. So that's only if you do catch it in time. Otherwise, if it is grayed out like you do see here, then unfortunately, you might be a little late. But at that point, I highly recommend you reach out to your support and see if they can work with Aatrix to figure out if there's a way to stop the process of maybe holding the federal filing until you can get your information updated again for the W-2 or 1099 employee copies. So number of ways to reach out to your support should you find that some information was left out and you need to stop and change any information. Calendar is just a calendar setup, so you can set up reminders there. The year-end manager tends to be very helpful using the complete service. And the reason is because we can see essentially live status of where those W-2s or 1099s are. So I've just gone ahead and selected a 1099, and it's asking, so Solace, they mentioned that they did not receive their 1099. So of course, you as the employer can double check that, okay, let's see whereabouts in the mailing system this copy is, or has it even been distributed? So I'm going to go ahead and log in with the recipient's taxpayer identification number. And through that, we can tell a couple of things here. So it's telling us that this delivery status is pending. Again, test, so it's not going to give much information. But on your end, Aatrix is connected to the USPS system. So just like how when you order, through Amazon or products online and you get tracking from USPS or UPS or FedEx of it's left at this destination, it's now at this facility getting checked or whatever it may be. That's exactly the notification and tracking system you're going to get for the W-2s and the 1099s. So that gives me peace of mind knowing that, okay, at least I can track the W-2s or the 1099 copies. Should the recipient or the employee mention that they have not received it, you can give them live status of where that is in the system. And of course, we know that some employees or recipients, they may have not updated their mailing address and they haven't informed the company that they have made a switch. So with that, if the recipient or the employee has made that change with the USPS National Change of Address system, Aatrix can actually pick that up, and we will then reroute the W-2 or the 1099 to the correct address. And then we will have like a little warning sign here or a little update sign here to say, hey, we have updated the address for Solace, and here's the new mailing address. Please confirm, with that person that this is the correct. Now, if they haven't gone through the USPS National Change of Address, then unfortunately the copy does return back to the sender, which would be the employer. So again, just double check, with your recipients and employees that those mailing addresses are up to date. Here are those PDF copies for the 1099s or the W-2, whichever one you're selecting. So you can view it, you can print it, you can provide that as a copy if your employees or recipients are needing a copy as soon as possible. And then, of course, for those opting for the electronic version, you can resend this link here to access their forms electronically if they had any issues the first time. So that is available. And I'm going to go into the due dates here, just so we can visit a little bit about that. So come to the Aatrix website. Under the Solutions tab, there's a drop down. I'm selecting CDM. And on the top here, we have a number of tabs, so you can look up any information, forms. And so specifically, you want to look at the deadlines option. So this is kind of what I was talking about. So we do have these updated for 2025. And as you can see, all the employee copies are due, or recipient copies need to be into Aatrix before January 30th, before 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then, of course, we also have the other ones, including that ACA combined filing. So we need to have those in before January 23rd, before 3 p.m. If you are looking to take advantage of that 50% off. So take a look at these, put reminders on your calendars. You don't want to miss this. So ultimately, that's essentially the process. So, how do you get started? If you're new to Aatrix, of course, get your enrollment done. It doesn't take too long. It's free. And then, of course, take time to test drive the product, and select this complete service, because it just helps you just kind of keep in line, get you notifications, give you that peace of mind. And once you use it the first time, it just makes things so much simpler for the next year. And of course, for our returning customers, thank you again for choosing, to work with Saran and Aatrix and using us as an option. And, for your filing process, if you haven't had the chance to use the complete service, I've given you quite a number of benefits to using that complete service. Hope that applies and adds value to you guys in making your payroll processing, accounts payable, so your 1099 processing, so much easier, where you can save more time, enjoy the holidays, have a good, filing year in January, and of course also save more money. With that, I am done with the presentation, and we do have some time for some questions. So
thank you very much, Nisa. See a question from Laura asking, if you only have one 1099 to prepare, what is the cost?
Okay, hi Laura. Yeah, so as far as pricing goes, Laura, yeah, it shows, I know it says W-2, but this applies to 1099s as well as the 1095s. So our complete service is sitting at $2.32 for both employee and recipient. That will encompass doing everything for you. And then, of course, we have the other pricing listed for the other services as well. The 1099 process, is exactly like just the W-2. It's just selecting the 1099 form as previously showed within the Saran product. But that wizard, that Excel grid, or that preparer, everything else after is exactly the same. It's just a matter of selecting the form.
So one thing I will, this is Ryan, mention that I think they were just going to file one 1099. So there is a minimum filing fee for 1099s and W-2s, which is $29.99 this year. So you'd have that minimum filing fee, which would be in place if filing just one form.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Do we have any other questions? Let's see. Looks like Andrea said, can an employee elect to receive a mailed copy and an email link?
Yeah, so with the complete service, the recipient or employee will receive both. They do get the mail copy and the electronic copy as well, unless they are opting to only just receive it, like we showed in the process. Then you would just select those who are just receiving it electronically, but both copies are available within the complete service.
Chris, I just wanted to jump on and thank Ryan and Nisa for their time today. As they said, we've worked with Aatrix for the better part of 15 years now. And we're very pleased with the service they provide and for taking the brunt of all of the challenges of keeping up to date with constantly changing tax forms. They are really a terrific resource. If you have any questions, of course, we're happy to reach out to them. And I highly encourage you to use the service. It's a great way to just ensure that the forms are filed when they need to be filed on time. And I really appreciate their effort to come out today and walk us through how the whole system works.
Yeah, thanks everyone for having us, the Saran team and all the customers. It was great attendance today at the webinar. So it's that time of the year, everybody's thinking about it. So we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you everyone for your time today. We're so glad that you are here. We hope that you have a wonderful holiday season, and we look forward to continuing to support you as we go through the year-end process. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.